At 9:47 a.m. on September 20, 1942, Lieutenant Commander Eddie Sanders climbed into the cockpit of a Mitsubishi A6M-0 at Naval Air Station North Island in San Diego, California, an aircraft that had become the terror of every American pilot in the Pacific. This particular Zero had once belonged to Flight Petty Officer First Class Tadayoshi Koga, a young Japanese pilot whose life had been cut short when his plane flipped upside down in a remote Aleutian marsh 2.5 months earlier. Koga was gone, only 19 years old, yet his aircraft had survived remarkably intact, offering the Americans a chance to learn the deadly secrets of the plane that had dominated the skies since Pearl Harbor. Sanders, a career naval aviator with 9 years of experience and countless hours in the air, understood aircraft as if they were extensions of his own body. He knew how they moved, how they responded, and how a single miscalculation could kill a pilot instantly. Sitting in the cockpit, painted now in American colors but unmistakably as Zero, he felt a mixture of excitement and apprehension. He was about to fly the very fighter that had made American pilots fear the Pacific skies. The Zero had earned its reputation through a seemingly unstoppable record, a 12-to-1 kill ratio in China, the decimation of F-2A Buffaloes and P-39 Airacobra, and the near-total destruction of British aircraft over Colombo on April 5, 1942, when 36 Zeros shot down 27 planes while losing only one. American tactics had emphasized avoiding traditional turning dogfights in favor of dive and zoom maneuvers, but these methods came at a high cost, leaving wingmen vulnerable and ceding air superiority to an enemy who used it to sink carriers, strafe airfields, and destroy entire squadrons on the ground. The challenge was clear: no one had ever flown a Zero until now, and its weaknesses, if they existed, were completely unknown. The Zero Sanders now faced had been painstakingly recovered from the Aleutian marsh after 3 arduous attempts. The first team, arriving on July 11th, had retrieved Koga's body, while a second attempt failed due to lost anchors. Finally, on July 15th, with proper heavy equipment, the Zero was extracted, shipped to Seattle aboard USS St. Miguel, and then transported by barge to San Diego, where Navy mechanics spent weeks repairing its damaged components: bent vertical stabilizer, rudder, wingtips, flaps, canopy, landing gear, and propeller. Broken parts were replaced, missing components fabricated, and by the time Sanders saw it, the aircraft was 98% original, with only 2% improvisation. As he fired up the 14-cylinder Nakajima Sake 12 radial engine, the sound was simultaneously familiar and alien, echoing the rhythm of American radials but with an unmistakable Japanese cadence. The propeller spun, instruments checked, and Sanders taxied to the runway, noting the Zero's remarkably lightweight 55,555 pounds fully loaded, almost 2,000 pounds lighter than an F-for-F Wildcat. The tail rose quickly, and the Zero lifted into the air with an effortless grace that immediately demonstrated why Japanese pilots revered it. In the first moments of flight, Sanders explored its low-speed handling. The controls were almost delicate, responsive, forgiving. He executed turns, rolls, stalls, and spins, all with a smoothness that American aircraft could not match at these speeds. At low speed, the Zero felt like it could do anything, stable and balanced, making even a moderately skilled pilot feel invincible. Yet, as he pushed the throttle forward and accelerated past 190 knots, the Zero's perfection began to falter. At 200 knots, the aircraft responded sluggishly, the ailerons stiffening, and right rolls became slow, requiring both hands on the stick. By 250 knots, rolling right was nearly impossible. Sanders immediately understood. Here was the tactical advantage American pilots needed. The Zero's exceptional low-speed agility came at the cost of high-speed maneuverability, a flaw that could be exploited to survive and win in combat. Further testing revealed additional vulnerabilities: a float-type carburetor that cut the engine under negative G-forces, no armor behind the pilot, unprotected fuel tanks, and an airframe that traded survivability for speed. Sanders realized that by using negative G pushovers to force engine cutouts, executing high-speed dives, and rolling strategically, American pilots could escape what had previously been fatal engagements. Over the following weeks, Sanders flew 23 more test flights, meticulously documenting every quirk, limitation, and strength of the Zero. He noted control asymmetry, optimal dive speeds, roll rates, stall recovery, and structural weaknesses. This information was then distributed to combat units across the Pacific, transforming fighter tactics. Pilots like Marine First Lieutenant Kenneth Walsh applied these discoveries immediately, using split-test maneuvers, high-speed dives, and precise rolls to evade Zero pilots and turn engagements to their advantage, shooting down multiple enemy aircraft while surviving encounters that had previously been deadly. Lieutenant Commander Frederick Trapnell, Chief of Test Flights at Naval Air Station Anacostia, later conducted comparative trials between the Zero and American aircraft such as the F for F Wildcat, F for U Corsair, and P-38 Lightning. Confirming Sanders' findings, the Zero outclimbed American planes below 15,000 feet but was vulnerable above 20,000 feet, fragile, unarmored, and unable to follow high-speed maneuvers reliably. Recommendations were detailed for each aircraft type, giving pilots practical guidance. Wildcats should avoid low-speed turning fights. Corsairs should exploit high-speed pauses and boom and zoom tactics. And P-38s should leverage speed and altitude while keeping out of slow-speed engagements. By early 1943, these tactics had transformed combat. Kill ratios improved dramatically, with Wildcats achieving nearly 6-1, Corsairs 11-1, and the overall effectiveness of American pilots skyrocketing not because of better aircraft, but because of superior knowledge and tactical application. Japanese pilots, including the legendary Saburo Sakai, noted the change. American pilots no longer engaged in low-speed dogfights. They attacked with speed, exploited weaknesses, and withdrew before Zeros could respond. Confidence among Japanese aviators, once absolute, began to erode. Reports of missing kills and unexpected losses emerged, and even the Japanese air staff recognized the strategic impact of the captured Zero. Commander Masatake Okumiya later wrote that the capture of Koga's Zero had consequences as significant as the Battle of Midway, accelerating Japan's eventual defeat. The Akutan Zero remained in American hands until February 1945, serving as a critical training and research tool before its destruction in a ground accident. Yet the lessons it provided endured. Sanders himself never received public recognition. His contributions remained classified, but the lives saved and the tactical doctrines he helped develop left a lasting legacy. Knowledge he demonstrated could turn the tide of war as effectively as superior hardware. The captured Zero revealed that every design choice has trade-offs. Agility came at the cost of durability, speed at the cost of control at high velocities, and range at the cost of pilot protection. By understanding these trade-offs, American pilots could exploit advantages, mitigate risks, and survive engagements that had previously seemed hopeless. From Alaska to the Solomon Islands, from Wildcats to Corsairs and Hellcats, Sanders' meticulous testing reshaped the Pacific Air War, proving that in aviation, as in all warfare, understanding your enemy's strengths and weaknesses and applying that knowledge intelligently is what turns potential defeat into decisive victory. Today, fragments of the Akutan Zero remain in museums, silent reminders of an aircraft that once ruled the skies, but whose most enduring legacy is not metal or rivets, but the lives saved and the tactics perfected through careful study, courageous test flights, and the understanding that knowledge itself can be a weapon more powerful than any cannon or machine gun.